Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And before I go any further into a statement, I want to acknowledge you and the colleagues on this committee and on your side of the aisle in particular, their concerns about the Chinese government potentially benefiting from the policy decisions we make here in the United States. One of the decisions I'm especially concerned about is the impending land transfer of the sacred Oak Flat area from Arizona's Tonto National Forest to the Resolution Copper mine owned by foreign mining conglomerates Rio Tinto and BHP. Not only does Rio Tinto have a nasty record of human rights violations, which many of my Republican colleagues in this very room have repeatedly decried, but we also know that Rio Tinto's majority shareholder is the Chinese government. Given the many concerns shared by both sides of the aisle on this issue, I want to reiterate my April 4th request for a markup on Save Oak Flat from Foreign Mining Act, and I ask unanimous consent to enter that request into the record. With that, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I'd like to turn my attention and offer my heartfelt welcome back to you, Secretary Haaland. No matter the context, your presence in this room has always brought a sense of assurance and purpose, and we thank you for that. I can't help but think back to when you were on this side of the dais. Your historic election would make you one of the first two Native American women to ever serve in the United States Congress. That was a beacon of hope in one of our democracy's darkest times. Your calm, principled leadership as the committee's vice chair proved invaluable as we fought back against one of the most corrupt, regressive, and extremist administrations in U.S. history. So it's no surprise when the time came for President Biden to nominate someone who could steer the Interior Department back on course, he chose you. But to say the least, cleaning up the previous administration's mess has been an inevitable task. The Interior Department you inherited had been purposely and systematically gutted, demoralized, and diminished. After all, hollowing out federal agencies is a critical component of the Magna Republican signature playbook. To alleviate any doubt in that assertion, look no further than the GOP's recent budget proposal. Assuming you can tease it out from the chaos and confusion Republicans are creating with their own needless debt ceiling hostage crisis, as Speaker McCarthy announced earlier this week, my Republican colleagues stand ready to pass a budget that would make devastating deep cuts to federal agencies and programs that Americans rely on every single day. These cuts would deliver irreparable blows across the government, damaging our economic potential, national security, and quality of life. At Interior specifically, these reckless cuts put Americans directly in harm's way. As Secretary Haaland detailed in a letter to the Appropriations Committee, the Republicans' extreme budget proposal would undermine the agency's ability to fight wildfires, disrupt our efforts to address drought and secure water resources in the West, and reduce support for tribal nations, create visitor safety issues at our national parks, and in an especially interesting turn of events, curtail American energy development by gutting the very federal permitting offices that my colleagues consistently complain about as being too slow. In doing so, the Magna agenda can achieve its ultimate goal, hobbling the Interior Department to the point of dysfunction and then scapegoating that dysfunction as an excuse to give big oil and other polluting industries more loopholes, more handouts, and less accountability, putting the fox squarely in the henhouse. As we go forward with today's hearing and listen to what I'm sure will be plentiful and at times perhaps theatrical critiques of the President Biden's proposed budget, it's important that we keep this in mind. Needless to say, the budget and the policy Secretary Haaland has presented today are a direct affront to the backward pro-polluter agenda Republicans are trying to get rammed through. Much to the GOP's chagrin, President's budget requests instead a comprehensive, forward-thinking proposal. It's a plan that empowers Interior with the resources it needs to operate at full capacity, and it builds on the momentum Secretary Haaland has already gained in tackling climate change, elevating tribal consultation, and building the clean energy future we all need and must have. Madam Secretary, I want to thank you for being here today, but even more than that, I want to thank you for your tireless commitment to public service, for having the courage to take the helm of the Interior when you, of taking the helmet and chair when you did, and for having the vision to rebuild the department in a way that reckons with the troubles of our past, meets the needs of our present, and prepares us for the challenges of the future. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.